Hey everyone! Today I want to talk about empowering questions and how to ask them. I apologize in advance for my voice. I've been a little bit sick, so it's a bit raspy still. I guess my vocal cords are still a little upset. But I have a sage tea. Hopefully that's going to help a little bit to keep me going. I want to explore the topic of how you can ask questions that actually empower you and give agency to you, whether it's in the context of the tarot or in the context of self-reflection or rummaging, which would be a negative form of self-reflection. Yeah, basically any time you think about a subject or wonder about a certain thing, there are certain ways of asking yourself questions that are more conducive to growth than other questions would be. Now, I want to start off by saying that the way I see tarot, it's a psychological tool for self-exploration, shadow work, and basically exploring your inner self rather than using it for fortune telling. So all of my tips for asking these questions will be based on this system. If you use tarot or other methods of divination like scrying for fortune telling, then these tips might not apply to you, but maybe next time you're meditating on a question or just sitting down and reflecting or doing shadow work, journaling, you could maybe still get some use out of these tips. So let's start. So the first thing that is quite obvious to many people, but beginners might still not be aware of, is that yes/no questions are not very conducive or not very helpful if you actually want to explore what's going on in your subconsciousness or how you're feeling. Because every yes/no question comes with a pre-made assumption. Let's say you ask, is XYZ in love with me? Or will my friend separate that idiot of a husband that she's married to? All of these questions have an underlying assumption, and if you truly want to explore something within yourself, you need questions that aren't dripping with a core belief or an assumption or even anticipating an answer almost. Because most of the time, yes/no questions, you know what you want to hear. And that's not so great for communicating with your subconsciousness, whether you're scrying or meditating or laying down the tarot cards. It all needs a certain openness to other perspectives, because otherwise there is no true exploration happening. So one way you can rephrase these questions is by making them a how question or an if question. So for example, instead of asking, will my daughter break up with her husband, you could ask, depending on how you want to support her, this is still not an ideal question. You could ask, how can I help my daughter break up with her husband? Now, that's problematic still, but it's a better question than, will she break up with her husband? But it's still not what we want exactly, and I will tell you in a moment why. An if question would be a way to couple a how question with something else. Like, if I started a new job, how would it affect my children? So you have a specific situation tied to a different setting that you want to know more about. So the next level in asking a question, an empowering question, would be to see how you can make a difference in other people's lives in a positive way. So let's go back to the example, how can I help my daughter break up with her husband? What you want to do is make the question more about you than about the other person, because you want to empower yourself and your own actions. So you wouldn't want to put your will on others. You could ask something like, how can I help my daughter become a happier human being? Or how can I support my daughter best in her struggles in life? This is very critical because it prevents you from taking on a role in someone else's life that is not yours to take, or making a decision for them that is not yours to make. And by asking these open questions and wanting to legitimately help other people or even help yourself, it makes it something that speaks to your agency. It speaks to what you can do about the situation. Whereas asking how someone else is feeling doesn't really tell you a whole lot. You could ask the question, how can I be my most attractive self? And this is basically the biggest tip that I have. Always put yourself at the core of the question, because otherwise asking about the feelings of others, asking about the actions of others, asking about why people did a certain thing, that's not going to tell you anything about yourself. For example, this is a very cool example actually. If you're in a relationship and you had a fight with the other person, some people would sit down and ask the question, why did he react like that? Or why did he insult me? But a much better question would be, how does it affect me that he insulted me? Or why does it make me so angry that he reacted in a certain way that maybe wouldn't have made another person angry? And this is really all about self-exploration, questioning yourself, and becoming more confident in determining what is inside of you, what deeper knowing you have, and what really makes you tick, honestly. And this is where it goes in the direction of shadow work, because you kind of face these fears that you have and these hang-ups that you have and try to go to the bottom of your own psyche and find out where it comes from. And that's really what empowering questions are all about. They need to be about you. Now, I've thought for a long time about whether this statement is actually true, but I want to throw it out there. So, as I was planning this video, I somehow came up with the sentence that the answers the tarot or meditation or scrying gives you are only as clear as your question. And if you have a fuzzy question or a fuzzy theme, the answer will always be fuzzy. Now, I don't think that's necessarily true now that I think about it, because sometimes, even if you don't put a lot of thought into the question in the beginning, somehow seeing the tarot cards or scrying or meditating will give you a strong sense of what's actually going on and maybe what question you should have asked or what the solution for a certain problem could be. So I don't think it's true, but I do think maybe if I rephrase it a little bit, don't expect the answer to be more clear than your question. If you're lucky, if you have a fuzzy question or a fuzzy theme, you get a clear answer from your subconsciousness or from the universe or wherever, but you can't expect it. So just be aware of the fact that if your question is fuzzy, the answer might be fuzzy too. Don't expect a clear answer. Of course, tarot can even help you, or self-reflection can help you come up with a better question. So maybe it's just a path that you got to go down in the beginning and to get to a better question, basically. So yeah, that's basically my tips. So you would have, don't ask yes/no questions, ask how questions that center around you and empower your agency rather than influencing others. And try to have as clear of a question as possible. And you always have to be the center of attention. Self-exploration, self-reflection is all about you and not about other people. So yes, they might surface in the reading or in the scrying, but it's still 90% about you and about how you feel about the world around you and about you, how you feel about yourself. So yeah, I hope this video helped you guys. And actually, I forgot to say, it was actually a request from a really good friend of mine. And I'll put her Instagram in the description box. She basically asked me to make a video about empowering tarot questions. And as I was thinking about it, I realized that this also applies to any sort of self-reflection, any sort of meditation that you do on your own feelings. Yeah, I hope this helped you and you got some inspiration from it. I'm excited to hear whether you guys have any more ideas, what I should have included, or how to ask a more empowering question. And yeah, good luck with your next self-reflection session. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.